Shaunice is going to end up being a bigger problem than Leslie or Nicole ever was. But let me preface this by saying that I see why Ted is keeping his circle tight, because dealing with someone outside of Fairmont Crest, it would be too challenging for him. And it will also force self-definition. Staying within his same familiar circle, this allows him to remain partially protected from judgment, and it also shields him from any self-accountability. I feel that Ted would definitely benefit from interacting with someone who doesn't know the details of his collapse, someone who doesn't associate him with betrayal and emotional volatility. Now, as the news of Anita's health diagnosis is ringing throughout Fairmont Crest, Ted seems to be gearing up for yet another shot at his chance to earn a seat at the table again with the Duprees. And let's pause for just a moment, because there is this line that Beyond the Gates is inching dangerously close to crossing with Ted and Nicole, Ted and Shaunice. And it's not about romance. It's not about attraction or chemistry. It's about timing. It's about emotional responsibility. And it's also about the quiet storm that happens when somebody comes out of one mess and then immediately reaches for that nearest source of calm and comfort without even earning it, aka Shaunice. Now, Ted has not healed, clearly. He's not settled. His marriage to Nicole, it didn't simply end because things didn't quote unquote work out. Ted wronged her more than once. He crossed boundaries that can't be undone. He slept with the enemy, and he destabilized his own household and created this chaos that he now seems desperate to put behind him. And instead of sitting with this reality, really sit with it, Ted is already redirecting his attention towards Shaunice. And Shaunice has been really kind to Ted, supportive, friendly, and a steady presence during his unraveling, so if you will, right? But kindness doesn't equal consent for emotional entanglement, and support doesn't obligate someone to receive your unresolved feelings. Somewhere along the line, Ted begins to blur that distinction, and that's where the storyline becomes a bit uncomfortable to watch, because Shaunice deserves so much better than being the emotional landing pad for a man who hasn't processed his feelings yet. And what's also bothersome is Ted isn't approaching Shaunice from a place of intention. He's approaching her from emotional exhaustion, from loneliness, from guilt. And when someone shows interest before they've done the work, what they're really doing is searching for relief, not a partnership, if you know what I mean. And that matters, you know. Ted has not yet demonstrated that he understands his role in the collapse of his marriage, nor has he faced the consequences of sleeping with someone tied to opposition and betrayal. Instead, he's shifting environments, hoping a quieter atmosphere will soothe what he refuses to confront. Now, Shaunice, in this instance, she represents a little bit of peace that he needs, right? But here's the issue. I'm afraid that Shaunice may end up hurt and carrying weight that never belonged to her in the first place. Shaunice is finding herself in Ted's orbit as a nurse, a listener, and a friend, someone who's hella grounded. That automatically makes her easy to lean on, right? But leaning and choosing are not the same thing. He's gravitating towards her because she doesn't threaten him or demand anything from him, for that matter. Let's just say that if this little romance doesn't work out, Shaunice stands to lose the most here. Now, his family situation is so unresolved. His emotional life is unsettled, and his moral clarity is still questionable, in my opinion. And stepping into a romantic situation with all of these windows open, it's an invitation for Shaunice to inherit conflict that she absolutely has nothing to do with. She's going to be dating the fallout, right? Not the man. And what's also frustrating about this storyline to me is that it ignores the reality that sometimes the healthiest thing a character can do is to just be alone. Ted needs solitude. He needs introspection. He needs to sit with the uncomfortable truth that he broke something meaningful, and that moving on this quickly is not going to erase the responsibility in all of this. Shaunice cannot be the reward for Ted surviving his own mess. She just can't be. And this is where the setting of Fairmont Crest becomes a part of the problem. The town already seems emotionally small, so romantic options seem limited. Forcing characters into proximity-based relationships that don't feel earned. When someone is dating everyone within the same tight circle, the growth of the character is stalled. and stagnated, in my opinion. Not every storyline requires pairing two familiar characters together. Sometimes a stronger narrative choice will be to just expand the world of Fairmont Crest. And Shaunice deserves a storyline that isn't tethered to Ted's recovery arc. Her character has potential beyond being the calm after his storm. She shouldn't exist to soften his consequences or make his transition easier. And to me, this reduces her to a narrative function instead of a fully realized person, which leaves me concerned with this character's development overall. Every relationship that she's had so far, she's been considered an afterthought. She was the rebound after Derek and Ashley, and now we see her being the rebound after Ted and Nicole. And let's be honest, Ted's interest, while not malicious, it's self-centered. It prioritizes his needs for comfort and validation over Shaunice's right to a healthy, stable relationship. It assumes that because she's kind and empathetic and that she will understand, or worse, that she will accommodate his situation at every cost. No matter what he's doing, she's going to be there to support it. And that's exactly why this coupling, this pairing feels wrong. And in closing, this relationship, to be honest, is starting out with a grave emotional imbalance. It's not starting equal. One person is giving, and one person is draining, one person is very clear, and one person is confused. And there's no amount of good intention that can offset that equation, unfortunately. Shaunice deserves someone whose presence adds to her life, not complicated. Someone who enters her world and her aura settled, clear, and emotionally clean, not someone still shedding the residue of choices that they haven't fully owned. Ted has a lot to figure out. His divorce isn't just a plot point, it's a reckoning that requires stillness, not a new romance. Now, if the show wants to explore this Ted and Shaunice relationship eventually, it should come after Ted demonstrates some growth without using Shaunice for his selfish needs. After he proves that he can stand alone without leaning on her peace to survive his guilt. Anything before that feels premature, and frankly, it's unfair to Shaunice. And until Beyond the Gates allows its characters to expand beyond the same limited romantic loop, these misaligned pairings will keep happening. But alignment matters. Timing, it matters. Bottom line, Ted needs time, and Shaunice needs protection from Ted, unfortunately. Thank you so much for tuning in to Ruthless TV, you guys. I'm going to see you in the next one.